8H, consider adoption of Resolution R2020-10, extending the declaration of local disaster until midnight on May the 12th of 2020. Mr. Hotopp, any comment?
Just briefly, so of course, we're in the midst of the coronavirus or COVID-19 outbreak, and so the declaration of local disaster was executed by the mayor on March 20th, and so the item before you tonight is just to formally extend that, and part of the process of extending that, it does activate and continue active our emergency management plan throughout. This in no way goes against the county's order that was adopted on Monday, which is active for a total of 30 days, which closes all non-essential businesses for up to a term of 30 days. Doesn't necessarily have to be 30 days, but their order can go up to 30 days. And of course, we're in support of that and everything that can be done to limit the spread and the outbreak of the current virus outbreak that's out there. So the resolution tonight just simply, again, extends it to midnight on May 12th, and be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Right, I know we're going to go also in the staff report here, more detail, and Mr. Hughes will be with us then. But for the completion of item 8H, is there any questions from council? We'll receive more of an update just here in a minute. On item 8H, we are seeking a motion and a second for approval. Motion by Councilman Cleveland, second by Mr. Robinson. Thank you for that. Any discussion on the item before we call for a vote? Hearing none, 8H is up for a vote at this time. Indicate yea or nay, please. Passes 4-0. Item 9 is staff reports. 9A is receive local COVID-19 update from the city manager. Mr. Hotopp, I may have jumped the gun there.
No, you're all right. I had a brief bit of information, then I'll turn to Brad Burnett, Assistant City Manager. We'll talk a little bit about the financial aspects of this. Then we'll go to Sean Hughes, Emergency Management Coordinator for the city and Parker County, talk a little bit about what's going on countywide and then specific to some numbers. So, you know, one of the things in general is obviously there's been a lot of communication going back and forth. There's constant communication that I have with the mayor multiple times a day, likewise with Sean and the county judge, also with Phil King's office. He's worked extensively with him when trying to acquire resources. There's some obviously a large amount of stress on the supply chain right now, and trying to get the proper PPE for our first responders is a very difficult task right now. And so Representative King and along with Sean Hughes has tried to help the city with regards to that. In general, you know, I think one of the big things is that we're trying to stress throughout this entire thing is our exceptional customer service. And just because we may be going through a local crisis, we don't want to suffer with regards to customer service. And I think, you know, some of the efforts that you saw tonight with respect to the work that our RT folks did this weekend and trying to set up the online meetings and the call-ins, I think is just an exceptional, just an example of the exceptional customer service we constantly strive to provide. You know, one of the things we're trying to do citywide is still maintain continuity. Still trying to maintain as much of a normal business presence as we can within all of our facilities. So we have had to limit some of our operations. So we made the decision to close the library down to the public last week, but we've still been able to provide curbside checkout through the online system that the library has developed. And so we still are able to provide that service to the patrons. They've also gone through and developed some story times and reading things done through Facebook, which is a great application that they're using out there as well. One of the other things that we've done to really limit the contact or exposure, possible exposure for our employees and also for the possible spread of the virus is to close the shelter temporarily until we kind of get through this outbreak. And that was just done out of abundance of caution and merely because we have so many visitors that come in, a lot of volunteers that interact at that facility. You know, this building is one of the primary buildings where we have a lot of foot traffic that comes in, and the majority of the people in this building are separated through glass. And so, you know, we do have an added level of comfort and feeling that those folks are protected. We have provided them with masks and gloves in the event that they need those. We did have one lady that was located out front in the receptionist desk, and we've pulled her formally behind glass right now to where she's not exposed in the normal aspects of everyday life. So some of our other buildings, the police department and fire department, have taken also precautions to limit public into the buildings. Of course, they have lobby areas in some of those buildings, and so they've gone to some extra steps to try to reduce the possible contacts that exist there. And obviously, it goes without saying, you know, that our police and fire are obviously prepared for these type of events. They go through and have done extensive level of staffing and training to be able to respond in events like this. And quite honestly, that's exactly what we expect, and that's what the public demands. They expect that local government can function in a time like this, and we can, and we'll be able to continue to provide the exceptional customer service that our residents have come to know and expect, quite honestly. Looking out just across the city, you'll notice some of the extra precautions that we've taken. So we scanned everybody coming into the building tonight, purely as a precaution. Those are some of the things that our first responders are actually doing on a daily basis. So our police and fire, our firefighters are being scanned twice a day for their vital signs, and our police officers are being scanned as they come on to their 12-hour shifts, merely as precaution and merely as trying to prevent, obviously, the spread of the virus. Everyone is doing everything they can to do that, and so that's one of the things that's being done. We're also in the process of trying to purchase those thermometers for all our city buildings so we can provide that service to all our city employees, and then also any customers that may come into this building as well, so that'll be one of the things that you'll see moving forward. You know, it goes without saying there's a huge amount of information that's out there, and we're partially responsible for some of that as well. We've gone through and done several things. I know some of y'all saw a small video that the mayor put together last week and sent that out with a huge amount of success that we saw on Facebook and YouTube with respect to that, and that's just one of the avenues that we're trying to push information out. You know, we want to be able to get information out to people, how they can actively consume that, and so that doesn't mean in any one format, so we try to provide it in all formats. Written, we do a lot of things on the website. We try to update our website daily with information not only from us, but we've got direct links to the CDC and to Health and Human Services, to Parker County as information becomes available from them. We do have some printed materials that's available at the front desk. Of course, all this is an abundance of caution, just really trying to share everything with everyone. In the event that someone doesn't know about the current situation and what's going on. One of the other things we've done, and actually started this pretty recently, is what we'll term as an internal task force. And so that's made up of the assistant city manager, both the chiefs, and a couple of other departmental representatives, and they're tasked with several different things, from trying to develop training internally for employees to trying to secure resources. You know, we've talked about the availability of resources and how that is a concern, and then also just general planning efforts to be able to track in the event that something happens to a city facility or that someone does become infected, then how do we go about cleaning that facility, making it safe for not only our employees, but also for any public coming into that building, because that's a general expectation when you come into a public facility that you'll be safe. And so they're going through tasks with trying to identify what steps are necessary, and they've already done that, and go through and plan those in the event that something actually happens. Then also going through resource planning. That's you know, you instantly assume that with our police and fire that when you call that we'll be able to respond, and we will. In the event, though, that one of those or multiple of those officers get sick, then what's our backup plan? And so what we have in place is the ability, and we've talked about this before, but Representative King has offered through avenues that they have to be able to bring in other folks, whether it be if police officers got sick and they needed to bring in some DPS workers or others within the city of Weatherford to help with that, then we've got a plan in place to be able to provide those services so you don't see a diminished service at all. You know, our expectation is that as we go through this event, that we're able to provide, again, the same exceptional customer service that we've known to expect from you know, to provide for our residents. And aside from that, you know, we're doing some other things that are out there. We're obviously working with the chamber, trying to really predict as we come out of this, because we will come out of this. There's no doubt about that. This is a blimp in time, and we know that as all things, this will end too. And so how do we go about helping all our businesses recover from this? We know this will have, and Brad will get into this just a second, but this will have an impact on the local economy. And we know that all of our businesses, whether they're small or large, have a vital impact to the city of Weatherford, and we want them all to be successful. And we realize that we're going to have to reinvent some things. We're going to have to do some things differently as we go through this process to be able to help them get back on their feet. You know, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to this. There's no standard response that's going to fit to this. Quite honestly, there's no playbook for this. No one's ever been through this. And so, you know, we find comfort in knowing that we have professionals at all levels throughout the city to be able to provide those type of resources that our businesses will be able to benefit from as we continue to adapt and really write our own chapter in history for what this means as we help the city grow to the next level, and that's what we're really excited about. So, Brad, I know Brad's got a little bit of information that he wants to talk about, and I'll turn it over to him.
Mr. Brad Burnett, welcome, sir. Just
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We like Caleb Kettner, but it's just nice to see a different face up there for a while.
Well, maybe we could stand on a stand over here and I could kind of be like him. There's a saying that holds true for our current situation. The saying is, the best managers manage when times are good. They give direction, set policies, they plan ahead. So when there is a dip or a dramatic change, they have flexibility to allocate adequate resources to withstand the situation. This applies here. We have excellent budget practices. We have good reserve policies. And most important, we have financial flexibility. As you are aware, the COVID-19 will have a negative impact on our sales tax and other revenue streams. We have analyzed our general fund financials, and we have taken action to offset substantial reductions in our revenues. We have identified equal amounts of expenses to offset these revenue reductions. But most important, we want to assure you we're prepared to take whatever actions are necessary to offset any reductions we encounter. And we are very confident we can maintain our financial flexibility through this extraordinary event.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it, Mr. Burnett.
You bet.
Mr. Hughes? And before you start, I want to thank you for being here. You've had no more sleep than anybody else has. He's stepping away briefly for a Clorox wipe.
Yeah.
Following good practice.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here, sir. If you could identify yourself and let us have a little bit of an update from you. And again, thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Sean Hughes. I'm the Emergency Management Coordinator for Parker County as well as the City of Weatherford. Greetings from the Judge and the Commissioner's Court as well, and thank you for having me here. I'd like to start out with a little bit of information from the court. Yesterday, the Commissioner's Court did approve a 30-day declaration that included some extensive changes from the previous declaration. Those have been published and those are out. We have made a differentiation between essential services and essential businesses and non-essential services and businesses. And we continue to work through that process in working with those who own businesses and have services in Parker County and helping define what actions they should take as well. I also bring greetings from Dr. Stephen Welch, who is the local health authority for Parker County. Dr. Welch is in direct contact with the Department of State Health Services, who is our health entity for Parker County. The current numbers on Parker County is we have one identified patient with the virus. We are monitoring one as well through the Department of State Health Services. There are some others who are they're not truly under the monitoring process, but we've been made aware of them and we're awaiting some results from various testing. But the official numbers are one confirmed and one under monitoring. Currently within Parker County, we've monitored a total of 6, including the one that I mentioned. 5 of those have gone off of monitoring and gone on to their business and have cleared that process. There is a little bit of delay time between when testing is done and we get results. It was stated in many times that was about 3 days. Current data is now that's running 5 to 7 days on returns. As we're doing more tests, it's taking a little bit longer to get those test results back. The other message I'd like to bring to you from Dr. Welch is, what do we consider to be an exposure? And that's important. Just because you're in the room with someone doesn't necessarily mean that you have been exposed. The type of incident that we're looking for is, did you spend 2 hours or more within 6 feet of someone who is exhibiting the symptoms? So if you think about that, you were in the room of a council meeting, for example. We've got 6-foot distance all around us, and we don't spend more than 2 hours within that 6-foot range.
We're trying not to.
Absolutely, and that incidence of exposure goes down greatly.
Sure.
So with the 6-foot distance, that's all good. We fielded many calls, many rumors are out there, and I would ask that, as with anything, let's check the rumors before we start to spread them. But we've gotten many calls about many things. Many of them aren't true. We continue to respond as the City of Weatherford does and all of Parker County does. We rely upon our first responders and our ESDs and our fire departments to help us get through this, and life care as well. They're all working together. I can tell, I don't want to speak for the chief, but those meetings are going on. I hold a weekly meeting with all of the public safety chiefs. I had the first one last week. I'm going to do the next one tomorrow. So we can share ideas and make sure that we're all working together as we do. Other than that, I'm here for any questions you may have or any questions that someone may have, and happy to answer.
Well, again, we thank you for being here. Councilor, are there any questions for Mr. Hughes?
Now, just say I appreciate all you're doing.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Mr. Hotopp, any questions?
No, again, I just want to reiterate just the appreciation for the closeness of working with Sean, and obviously with you and the county judge and Phil King's office. Obviously, that's the expectation. I mentioned it before, but that's the expectation the public has, and that's exactly what's happening. We get, in addition to that, Sean provides 2 updates each day to us, and so we receive that information. So, again, close coordination, and sincerely appreciate that.
Absolutely, and that will continue.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
And to our citizens that are listening, just a brief comment that we understand that this is a time where people are unsure, maybe even fearful, and that every decision that this staff and this council makes, we understand the gravity of it, and we understand that it has an effect on families and businesses that make times much more difficult. And we don't want the citizens to think that we take that lightly for 1 second. Our intent is to work in a unified fashion as the county and cities that constitute Parker County, and that we make the best and the most effort that we can in a calculated manner to slow the spread of this virus. And so some of the steps that we've taken and supported have been very difficult and have an impact on families. And as soon as things can be reinstated back to the way they were in a safe manner, we're certainly going to do that.